We're now live. Look at us. We're in. Hi, everybody. So I am here and not my closet. I'm actually in a wonderful closet in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, with my friend Janel here. She has been hosting me the last couple of days, which has been really fun. But how I know her is an incredible, just like girl boss story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell them how you know each other?
Yeah. So we actually were fortunate enough to be in Bali earlier this year with Yellow, who put on a fantastic retreat for sort of budding female entrepreneurs that had a social good component, and so it attracted wonderful people like Praise here, and that's where we met.
Yeah, so shout out to Yellow and Joanna and the whole team
Casey,
for putting us
Jessie,
together.
yeah.
Casey. What was her alter ego?
Janice.
Janice. Yes. Janice. Oh, never forget. Never forget. So it's just so fun having friends all across the country, especially like badass women accomplishing things. And so we were just having a fun conversation in the car, and I looked at her and said, I want to put this on IGTV because I feel like people could really benefit from it. So Janel is amazing, a badass woman, a go-getter woman, which is just like my niche of women. But she has had a few different kinds of lives, which is really cool. So I want her to talk about what's behind us, and that'll kind of transition into other things. So introduce yourself a little bit.
Again, I'm Janel, and I think what Praise is talking about is everything that you see behind us right now did not exist probably about 18 or 19 months ago. But I just decided out of the blue that I wanted to learn how to start and run a business, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So after a conversation with my sister, we were talking about the fact that when we're working out, we have to work out in something, or when we're done working out, there's some athleisure wear out there, but wouldn't it be fun to at least like try to work inside that market? So everything you see behind is sort of a reflection of what I've been working on for the last year and a half.
And they're cute designs too, yes. So this is one of her newest ones. It says Never Gives Up, and it's kind of a fun take. And let me know if this design inspiration wrong, but is it like from the thank you bags?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially like if you're pushing a message of never giving up, like what better way to do that than like be super repetitive on a t-shirt.
Yeah, so super repetitive, and you can probably catch her like doing something athletic in it too, or just even if she's grocery shopping, she's never giving up with it.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this ties into like everybody's entrepreneurial journey, or even those who haven't maybe started yet. It's this idea that like hustle beats talent any day of the week. And also this concept of resilience being, I think, one of the greatest traits somebody can have: perseverance, endurance, resilience, because it's really seeing something through, I think, that makes people successful. I was just listening, I had a run earlier today, and I was listening to How I Built This with Richard Branson, and he just said, I just didn't quit on the days I felt like quitting. And I thought that was a really good just like glimpse into somebody who, obviously he has the benefit of hindsight, and he's sitting from a perch that many of us would like to be at someday. And he's kind of looking back at his beginnings, just saying like, yeah, I just decided that the failure was okay, and that I think he said something like, if you run 250 businesses and one fails, you still have 249, so you just can't like give up on things. So
yeah, I love that, and that is so the entrepreneurial just motto too. When we were talking about that yesterday, that the entrepreneurial journey is like success, failure, success, failure. And overall, if you, in hindsight, we look back and we're actually going somewhere, but it's this roller coaster on the way there.
Yeah. And self-made too, right? I think it was Mark Twain who said, worry has ruined a lot of my days, and half of the things that I worried about never came true, or something along those lines. So I think sometimes the mountains and valleys that we subject ourselves to can be avoided, I think, when we get a little bit further on the journey and we have the benefit of thinking back to, oh wait, you know what, the last time when I launched a shirt and nobody bought it for 7 days, like Yeah, you remember how you felt that way? Okay, well, it's just day 2. Wait till you get to day 7 before freaking out. So
muscle memory, maybe.
Yes, exactly. So you start just like learning from those types of mistakes, and realizing that you don't have to subject yourself to all the emotion that like you're tempted to.
Totally. It's controlling those emotions as an entrepreneur is a very real thing. I feel like psychoanalyzing entrepreneurs is a very real thing. We're a different kind of brain.
Yeah.
Definitely different. What's interesting about you is that entrepreneurship is kind of a pivot for you. So can you tell our friends out there a little bit about what you were doing before and the decision to pivot?
Yeah, I don't know. So like for a couple months, I lovingly referred to this as a midlife crisis, and so I told my husband, hey, other people are doing much worse things in their midlife crises than I am. I'm not buying a new car. Like somehow I'm launching a brand that sells T-shirts. So for me, I had been in the political industry for about 15 plus years. I worked at the federal level for the U.S. Senate. I worked at the state level, and then I worked on the political side, so with political parties. And I think that everybody goes through this to some degree, is that something can be your complete, wholehearted focus, and then you start to discover different things about yourself that you get interested in. And once you fan those interests, then some of the stuff that used to really be captivating to you isn't quite as captivating anymore. And so that was definitely my story. I mean, obviously, as you pointed out, we're sitting in the nation's capital. There are probably times, and my guess is that it's worse here than other places, but where all of us just kind of want to tune out and say, hey, why don't we focus on the things that unite us instead of the things that divide us? And so for me, launching a brand that seeks not only to celebrate women on their fitness journey, but also hopes to provide space for these women who are pursuing individualistic athletic pursuits, may it be running, yoga, etc. My hope is to provide a community for all of them to kind of connect with each other, with like-minded dream chasers, and be inspired by each other. So that's kind of where I did the pivot. I knew that I had remaining on a contract that I was working at with my employer about another year, and so I launched this with a year left to go. Quite frankly, to subsidize the effort, knowing that right now, when you don't have the benefit of that second income, it's a little bit harder, but that was definitely a luxury that I had at the time.
Yeah, so you kind of phase yourself out of one job while like launching this other brand.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's still a really brave step, because we were talking about it, like some skill sets crossed over. Maybe.
Yeah.
So she's being really humble. She was like second in command to the first, female governor of Arizona or New Mexico?
A little bit different. So I was the policy director for the governor of New Mexico.
Policy director. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I was the deputy executive director for a political committee here in DC.
Got it. But then deputy executive, what is the word? Director. I'm doing great. And building a t-shirt brand. Any crossover with skills? Oh, we're back. Sorry. I have a social media limit.
So I think that you can always draw upon past experiences. For me, it was, how do I want to position this, right? So if I come from at least a political environment about like, what is this campaign really about? I started realizing that if I stopped playing somebody else's game, like what were other people out there doing? How were they trying to advance the brand? And started playing my own game and the skills that I knew, that then I put myself back on the turf that I was more comfortable with. And so that's just where I'm the most comfortable operating. But I would say just kind of contemplating anything you're launching within that context can be helpful. But I'm sure that there is a lot of crossover that anyone can draw on. I've just been very fortunate in the positions that I've held meet a lot of great people, a lot of smart people, and when you're around those types of people, you hopefully pick things up.
Yeah, like osmosis. I think that's a key skill, is surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Janel does really well. I mean, she went to this retreat in Bali for women who are starting to do good businesses about a year and a half into her business. I went in like 5 years into my business. So I wish I had done that early, and I think that's something you do really well. To wrap up, is there, if there's a go-getter woman who wants to impact the world, but she's kind of in the really, really beginner stages, what is something that you wish you knew like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, so I think that there's this misnomer out there that we have to have it all figured out. Like what did all of us ask ourselves when we wanted to start business before there was this thing to point to that was like, well, what is your why? Before you do anything, what is your why? I think that's helpful to ask, but I think sometimes we can stop moving forward because we're too busy trying to have it all figured out before we launched. There is nothing better as a teacher than failure, and I think the best way to look at it is just like everybody else. This is not an original thought, but that if you have figured out 10 ways not to do it, then hopefully you're a little bit closer to that. So I'd say don't give up, and then I'd just say you don't need to have it all figured out. And don't be afraid to start small and be humble, because sometimes, like, actually, I did this wrong too. You think that you have to have a bunch of inventory on hand or have everything figured out, when really, like, every time you do something, you do it a little bit better, and then that tends to pick up momentum. So be small, be humble, just learn as much as you can, and don't see failure as anything except instructional.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to fail. Fail forward, as they say. And then never give up. And then if you want to remind yourself, just buy one for shirts. So this is a very straightforward plug to, can you give them your website and your Instagram handle?
So, yes. So it's at Jot and Tittle Designs. Tittle rhymes with little. So JOTTTILE Designs.com, and then also the same on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and then we created some content for her, so I'll be sharing that on my Instagram and website too. But that's it. So thanks for hanging with me, and thank you for also letting me sleep over at your house.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Also, hi friends, I'm gonna wave back to you. But this is our wrap. Thank you.
Great. Bye guys.
Bye.